Hey guys, in this session let us learn about SQL hints in Oracle. So what is meant by hint? So let us take a real-time example. You are writing an exam and in that exam you get a question paper and there will be a lot of questions, right? So for all the straightforward questions like definitions and procedures we can easily answer. Okay, so whatever we learn from the book we can write them. But for questions which are hypothetical or something that is logical, where we need to completely use our conscious mind and define a solution, so in those cases we may get some hints under the question, right? So these hints will not directly give us the answer, but it will help us in getting some idea about the answer, so that we can easily understand what exactly the question is expecting for us to answer, right? So likewise, even in Oracle database, whatever SQL that are executed in the database will be straightforward. Okay, and there are some SQL statements where we need to make sure that SQL is executing only in a certain way. Okay, so just imagine if a SQL statement is executed on the database, if it comes inside the database, so database is an ocean. Okay, so inside that database optimizer can choose any execution plan. We cannot guarantee that this SQL will be having only one execution plan. Okay, so there are imagine that there are thousands of SQLs executing on the database and we cannot control each and every SQL statements, right? So because of these 1000 SQL statements, this particular SQL which is executed, the behavior of this SQL may change because of the resource availability. So optimizer can make any decisions anytime. So there is no thumb rule or fixed execution plan that will be chosen by optimizer. So what we can do is, in this SQL statement itself we can give some hints to the optimizer. Okay, so that optimizer will understand whatever we are trying to say. So it is kind of a communication comment that we are giving to the optimizer. Okay, we cannot directly communicate with the optimizer, right, in verbal language. So if you want to communicate with the optimizer, this is one of the way. So that's what we call as influencing optimizer plan with the hints. So it is kind of directly or indirectly forcing the optimizer to use a specific execution plan. Okay, so there are a lot of hints which are available in Oracle database, right? So we know that optimizer can choose full table scan, index scan, and table access by index row ID. Any method optimizer can choose. And also there are a lot of join methods available, like nested loops, hash join. So out of those join methods, any join method can be used by optimizer. So if it is a full table scan, then optimizer may go for hash join. So if it is a nested loop, then optimizer may go for an index scan. Okay, so let us just see what are all those hints. Okay, so hint is a directive embedded in the SQL statement to influence the query optimizer's execution plan. Hint can override the optimizer's default behavior, allowing you to tune the SQL for performance. Okay, so it is a directive. So what is meant by directive? So we are giving direction to the optimizer, that's it, on how which plan to be used, whether a full table scan plan or whether index scan plan, right? So in this case, lot of parameters are there in the database. So if you just type show parameter optimizer, you can see a lot of parameters related to optimizer, and these default settings will be override in the sense these will be ignored when we are using the hint. Okay, so it will say that the engineer who executed this SQL is telling optimizer to use that particular method of access path. So whatever parameters which are there, the settings which are there, you just ignore them, whether it is favorable to the hint that is given by the engineer, or it is against the hints which are used by the engineer. Say for example, here we have optimizers features enable as 19.1.0. okay, so I can give 12c version as well in this parameter. So here 19c version is there. If I give 12c version in the hint, then this particular setting will be ignored. Optimizer will not see this parameter, only for that particular SQL. It is not for every SQL. Okay, so whatever SQL that I am executing, only for that particular SQL, if I am giving a hint, that setting will be ignored. Okay, so likewise optimizer mode. So default optimizer mode is all rows. So if I just give a hint to use first rows optimizer, then optimizer will ignore this all rows of using a full table scan, and index scans may be chosen. Okay, and also there are certain situations where we need to follow the correct syntax of the hint. Okay, so if you are not giving the correct hint, then optimizer will not be able to understand whatever hint that we are giving. Okay, so it will be, hint will be unresolved. Okay, and also we need to make sure that the hint that we are specifying makes sense. Okay, which means I am just executing a query select star from table. Okay, so in this case, if I use a hint for this query, it does not make any sense. Why? Especially index hint. Why? Because here there is no where clause itself, so there is no possibility for Oracle to use an index, right? But still, if I give a hint here, then optimizer will ignore that. Okay, hint will be unused. So there are a lot of status that will be shown by optimizer: unused, unresolved, and there are other status as well. So I will just show you that in the execution plan. Okay, so we need to follow the correct syntax of the hint. So the hint format will be / followed by star followed by plus. So after plus we need to specify the hint that we are going to use. So say for example, if I am going to use index hint, then I will say index of table name, then followed by star and again /. This comment should be after the select. Okay, select followed by the comment of the hint, and then again whatever column that you specify, either it may be star space, you need to leave a space, then either it is a star or column name or anything, then from table, something like this. So the hint should be after select, which means it should be in between the column that you specify and the select statement or the select operation. Okay, so there are a lot of hints. If you see, I have documented only the most common hints which are used. Okay, still if you want to check the number of hints in the database, we have a view called SQL hints. Okay, so there are almost 373 hints. So if you want to check few hints, I will just show you. So if you want to see the details of the hint, right, what are all the hints available, and on which version it was introduced, right, and what is the class, version, outline, property, target level. So here if you see under the name, you will see the hint information. Okay, append, no append, so these are hints. Okay, so this is how we can identify whatever hints which are present in the database. So yeah, we have full of table, so these are access path hints, which means it will direct the optimizer to use a specific access path. Okay, so in this case we have full table, index hint, and index ascending hint, index descending hint, index combined hint, okay, index fast full scan hint, row ID hint, cluster hint. Okay, so all the descriptions are here, so it is self-explanatory. So whenever we are using it practically, we will understand. Next one is join methods. So either it is nested loop, sort merge join, hash join. Coming to driving site, so driving site is a hint which is used in distributed SQLs. Okay, say for example there are two databases A and B. Okay, so database A contains one table sales, database B contains one table customer. Okay, so I need to get all the customers sales by joining these two tables. Okay, but A is different database, B is different database, so consider A as a local database. So I am just querying the data from the A database. So I need to join these two tables. How can I join? So we need to create a DB link between database A and database B, and that DB link will connect the database A and B. So if I need to access the data from the customers table which is located in B, I can use this DB link @DB link name to query the data. Okay, so in this case both these tables will be joined, right? So if I need to get all the customers sales, then I need to join these two tables to get the results, right? So in this case the join operation, right, will consume a lot of memory, so PGA should be required. Okay, so those memory will be utilized from the database that I am working on. Okay, so if I'm just executing select star from sales, and I will just use some join, inner join, some column name customer on, this is not column name, inner join table name customer on some column name. Okay, so if I'm executing this query from the database A, then all the memory will be consumed from database A itself. So if I need to switch or swap the memory utilization to the remote database, then I can use this hint. So driving site means it will decide on which database this particular join operation should be done. Okay, so that database A will not be overloaded. I can pass all the join operation to the remote database. So the join will be performed in the remote database, and once it is completed, then it will give it to the database A. So that's how we can offload and save some resource. Okay, and next comes the leading table 1, table 2. So this controls the join order. Okay, so if I have multiple tables which are joined in the SQL query, then I can use this hint. What this hint does is it will decide the order of join. So if Oracle is performing join in the order of table 2 and table 1, if I use this hint leading of table 1, table 2, then Oracle will do the join order in the form of table 1 and table 2. So that's how we can control the order of join, which means first this table will be processed and then table 2 will be processed. Okay, and next, ordered hint. So this preserves the join order in the from class. So whatever join order that we are using or Oracle is using will be preserved. It will not be changed. So that's what we order. Whatever order that is there in the query, right? That order will be followed. And join order hints. We already seen these in the previous join methods. Okay. And then parallel execution hints. So parallel is the most common hint that we use. Okay, especially in data warehouse systems. So we have parallel followed by the table and followed by the degree. Okay, so this will enable parallel execution on the SQL queries. So parallelly all the processing happens. So if you want to disable parallel, we can use no parallel. Okay, so next one is PQ distribute. So this controls how rows are distributed in the parallel queries. Okay, so these are the internal working of the parallel. So we don't use it frequently, but still, if there are situations where we need to use it, these are rare cases. Okay, distributing the controlling how the rows are distributed in the parallel queries. Okay, next comes the query transformation, optimizer control. So we already seen different query transformation like predicate pushing, view merging, right? So we can use these hints to enable subquery unnesting. We can use this unnest hint. To disable subquery unnesting, we can use no unnest. For view merging, we can use merge. No merge means prevents view merging. Okay, so likewise these are related to query transformation. So no expand prevents or expansion in the where clause. So we'll see all these concepts. Okay. Next comes the star transformation. So this is specifically in data warehousing systems, in OLAP systems. So star transformation itself is a we can say we have a fact table and dimension table. So that itself is a separate concept. Okay, the tables will be in the form of star. Okay, so if you want to use star transformation, we can use this, and no star transformation means it will disable it. So these are specific to the application. Okay, so DBAs will not frequently use these star transformation. Okay, next is rewrite. So we already seen materialized view rewrite, query rewrite in query transformation. So that is the one. If you want to rewrite the query with a materialized view, then you can use rewrite. For no rewrite, we can use no rewrite, which will disable the rewrite. So next comes the optimizer hints, all rows. All rows means it will go for a full table scan. So this is the default optimizer mode, right? The next one is first rows. First rows n, which means it will have 1, 10, 100, 1000. So this will favor index scans. Okay, so next one is cardinality. Okay, the cardinality means it will suggest the row count estimate. So we already know that what is a cardinality, right? How to estimate the cardinality. So if you just give the cardinality followed by the row count inside the hint, then Oracle will take this suggestion and it will this is kind of an input. Okay, take this input and it will just calculate the cardinality. Next comes the opt param. So opt param means this is a common hint or generic hint. Okay, whatever optimizer parameter that you need to use, you can use it inside this. So this is kind of a function. Okay, so inside this opt param you can use any optimizer hints. So whatever optimizer hints that you've seen here, right? Optimizer, adaptive statistics, capture, ignore, all these optimizer hints can be specified or embedded inside this opt param, and you can specify the value. So next comes the result cache. Okay, so if you are using a result cache, the result cache is part of shared pool, right? And result cache will help us in evaluating all the select queries which are scanning huge amount of data but returning only few data. So if there are subqueries in the select statement, right, query within a query, outer query and outer block and inner block, so for those kind of queries we can, if Oracle needs to use a result cache, you can use this hint. Next comes the append and append value. So these are direct path operations, direct path insert. Okay, so we have two types of inserts, conventional insert and direct path insert. So direct path insert will be using the PGA, and it will load the data above the high water mark. So if we want direct path inserts, and if you also want to use parallel, so always whenever we are using append, we also combine this append with the parallel hint, because always direct path insert will support parallel. Okay, so for faster inserts we can use append hint. Next comes the adaptive and bind sensitive hints. So these are related to the bind variables. So if we are using bind variables and if we need to use cursor, adaptive cursor sharing and bind peaking, we can use these hints. Okay, so this is specifically for adaptive cursor sharing. Okay, so if you see, we have a specific hint called adaptive plan. So this will enable adaptive plan generation. So during the runtime, the plan will be changed. If optimizer thinks that the current plan is not good, during the runtime it will instantly change. Okay, and no adaptive plan means to disable it. And next comes the diagnostic hints. Okay, so we have gather plan statistics. So this, what this does is, it will collect the statistics during the runtime. So if you want the SQL query to be executed, and during the runtime if I need to gather the statistics, then if we specify this hint, statistics will be gathered during the runtime. Okay, and next comes the monitor and no monitor. Okay, so this will enable or disable monitoring. Okay, so it's kind of a SQL monitor. Okay, so by default monitor will be enabled. So if you don't want the monitoring to be done on any SQLs, then you can disable it. And next comes the dynamic sampling. So dynamic sampling is an alternative for statistics. Okay, and this specifies the sample level for the statistics. Okay, so if we don't have good statistics, then automatically Oracle will use this method of sampling the data. So with that sample, Oracle will automatically choose the execution plan. Okay, so next comes the optimizer parameter. So I already mentioned OPT param is the function. Okay, so inside this function you can specify any parameter and their values. So these are the examples. Okay, and yeah, this is just a flow chart for you to understand about the hints. Okay, access path hints, join operation hints. So you can categorize yourself all those hints, optimization goal hints. Okay, we have parallel execution hints. So every hints can be categorized so that we will not forget. Okay, so if you see, access path means whether it is a full table scan or index scan. So join operation means whether nested loop, hash join or merge join. And optimization goal hints means which optimizer goal is required, whether all rows. So these are also related to controlling the same plan, that's it. First rows means it will go for an index scan. All rows means it will go for a full table scan. So we are indirectly controlling the optimizer goal, that's it. And join order hints means whenever the SQL query is having a join, then only we should use these hints. Otherwise these join order hints are not useful. And parallel execution hints, so if the table is very large, then we can use parallel. If not, we can disable parallel. And these are transformation hints, right? We already seen view merging, push predicate, unnesting and all. And these are cursor sharing hints. So if adaptive cursor sharing should be used, we can use bind aware, otherwise remove it. These are query block naming hints, so we can also name the query block. Okay, otherwise Oracle automatically provide a name for each and every query block that we use. If we need to make it more understandable, then we can use our own query block as well with the help of hints. Okay, and outline leaf is also a hint used to generate the outline leaf in a good format. And other useful hints, these are result cache, append, driving side, dynamic sampling. Okay, so we can just generate a test case in the next section.